Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York on Nintendo Switch. What do we got here? Text size small, big please. Typing speed, fast please. Dialogue options in the middle. I'm not sure how much that matters. Dynamic background, sure. We'll change them as we need them. Brujah, Ventrue, Toreador. Okay. The rebel against power and rage against authority. A seemingly insignificant man with significant ideas will join their ranks tonight. The aristocratic blue bloods embody wealth, sovereignty, and control. A top-level corporate executive will join their ranks tonight. The divas seek thrills of art, romance, and cruelty amidst stagnant undeath. A tormented artist will join their ranks tonight. These all seem like assholes. How about Brujah? The name Eric. Eric? Might as well make it Karen. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you... What? Whoa, oh my goodness, yeah. That text is too big, apparently. Okay, let's change that. That, apparently, it does not scale properly for the text. I guess it has to be small. Wow. Did these guys even test this themselves? Yeah. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked me about fate back when I was human, I would have told you it's just superstitious bullshit, that we are all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not a face you could have seen in papers, of course, sank her teeth deep into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now. By the way, fate, you decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see its glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th-generation kindred just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me, the peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate, a message saying, you're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given it the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me, just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you straight from the plane and having you wake in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport I value our relationship very much, don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You are the one I trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy, asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with it unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. And now, it's smiling in your favor. This is how it begins. The music is pounding, and your pulse is keeping pace. This is one of those nights that makes you feel alive, even though it started with you feeling dead. First came the messy breakup, then the realization you have nobody to talk to about how much it sucked. Still, you decided to roll with the punches. One Facebook search for local events later, you found yourself just the thing for your malaise. A short subway ride, and you find yourself at the club just outside Dunbow. Not a fancy one, mind you, more like a slightly refurbished warehouse, but hey, at least the drinks are cheap. The DJ seems to really know his shit too, alternating between cutting-edge industrial techno and classic Detroit crowd pleasers, expertly feeling out everyone's mood. An hour passes, then two. Usually you'd feel awkward coming to a place like this alone, but tonight you find yourself something soothing in joining the crowd, blending in even as you allow the beat to take over. Sweat, yours, other people's, soaks through your shirt and pants in a matter of minutes. Thought pops into your head. From the outside, the fully packed club must seem like a stuffy, smelly nightmare, but here, in the thick of it, it becomes exhilarating. And you're not even on a pill tonight. There's this Latina chick whose curves are accentuated by the light dress clinging to her body, and she keeps bumping into you. Something tells you it only seems incidental. Yeah, it's a good night. You wish it could last forever, because you know it all too well, what the next day holds. Waking up, getting dressed for work, a commute, a 9-to-5 grind that will make you just enough money to pay the rent and keep your living in your overpriced shithole of an apartment. And with Jessica moving out, it'll all be coming out of your pocket. You run some quick calculations in your head and immediately come to regret that you did. Never mind, you spot the Latina again. She's now next to another guy, hitting it off. Your chance of not going to bed alone? Gone. Just like that. Fuck. Your mood temporarily shot down, you leave the dance floor and stumble your way to the filthy bathroom. You take a look in the mirror and start to wash your face, obsessively. Over and over again. A voice from the past echoes in your mind. I never felt like this with anyone. Seriously, I mean it. I feel like all my relationships up to this point were test runs, a shitty way to compensate for my low self-esteem. But this feels right. Finally. Shut up, Jess. This was the craziest fucking day in my life. God, I need a smoke. Pass me a light. Well, what do you mean? Cops took the lighter. There's one in your mouth. Just shut the hell up. This is not you. Not anymore. Oh, fuck off. This is so like you. Acting like some sort of Clint Eastwood wannabe when I really, really need you to open up. You think you're impressing people with this tough guy act? Fuck you. I know how broken you really are. You need therapy. Yeah, now it sounds like the Jessica of today. You raise your head and look in the mirror. You try to smile, but all you can muster is a self-pitying grin. And there she is, the Latina from before. She says you look like you need a drink. You hesitate for a second or two, but then blurt out a surprisingly enthusiastic, yeah. You start to talk. It quickly becomes evident that she's into politics and you're eager to please. You might be a corporate drone, but you spend a lot of evenings reading theory, actual theory, not bastardized Twitter cliff notes, and organizing for all manners of causes online. Status quo sucks. There must be something better. She agrees. You seem to subscribe to the same progressive political theories, have compatible ideas about the DSA's missteps, even watch the same YouTube channels. Your goals are aligned. She's a bit more radical than you'd have guessed. You attended a few rallies, been to a few protests, but this girl, it sounds like she broke her share of faces and kicked more than a couple of cops in the nuts over the course of her activist career. Her zeal is infectious. She taps into pent-up anger that you didn't know you had. The noisy club stopped working for you both, so you hit the streets. Just as you're leaving, the DJ starts playing All the Things She Said by Tattoo. Of course. You chuckle to yourself, trying not to slip into a bad headspace. She chuckles along with you. It's chilly outside, but soon enough you find yourself too invested in listening to the girl's voice to care about anything else. You realize that you've been holding hands for a while. The subway car is empty, save for a stoic middle-aged couple and a drunk staring intently at his own feet. Plenty of room to stretch out, and yet she sits right next to you. You can feel her thigh pressing into yours, her breath on the side of your neck. Maybe it's the booze talking, but you distinctly hear your voice asking if she'd like to crash at your place. I've got a better idea, she says. At this point, you're down for anything as long as it lets you spend just a few more minutes with her. She takes you to a sleazy motel in the Bronx, trading a few words with a balding, tired-looking guy at the front desk. He hands her a key. Still holding her hand, the woman leads you up the stairs. The room you end up in is almost comically stereotypical, complete with flaking paint and sticky floor. Not that it matters, though. The moment you step through the door, she's on you. You try to take the lead, but she's having none of it. Before you know it, you feel the rickety bed pressing against your back. It's sloppy, fun, fierce, and not once does she lose the initiative. Your hands reach under her shirt. Strange, it didn't look like she was cold outside, but now her skin feels eerily cool. As if sensing your confusion, she slaps your hands off her. She kisses your neck. You're overwhelmed by the sensation. Darkness. The taste of liquid fire and smoke on your tongue. Her voice saying, "Sorry, kid. I did what I had to leave this city in one piece. But don't worry. With my blood and your principles, you're going to do just fine." She slams the motel door behind her as she leaves. You lie helpless on the soiled, pungent mattress for some time. Minutes? Hours? Before you can focus enough to try to piece together your evening, it hits you. The big hunger. It grips you by the throat and makes your insides shrivel in terror. It's an all-encompassing emptiness that throws you on all fours. You crawl for a while, scrum on the floor in sundering pain, then jump to your feet and burst out the door. You black out. This isn't the room you saw when you last closed your eyes. Somebody curses at you, a small, naked, buff dude holding a short leather whip. Wow, what a goofy motherfucker. He throws a punch. He yells out several slurs. He hits you in the jaw. You black out again. The guy isn't moving anymore. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on his arms. There's blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Wow, whoever did this is one sick puppy. You realize you're sitting on top of his corpse. You hear a whimper. Someone else is there, a woman. Her arms are tied to the bed frame, an eye mask over her face, red marks on her back. This time you see it happen. You want to stop, but you can't. She almost manages to get a scream out, but it dies in her throat as you bite into the side of her neck. You drink. Blood. You're drinking blood. You could swear you feel her life force escaping her body, entering yours. Suddenly terrified, you tear away from her. She's not moving, but she's breathing. There's barely a mark on her neck. The guy on the floor, though. You double over in a spasm. Realizing what you did, you feel like throwing up, but can only gag. Panic sets in as another realization dawns on you. Your heart is not beating. You put 2 fingers on your wrist, but feel no pulse. Same thing on the neck. Nothing. There's no breath coming out of your mouth. You have to get out. Get someone to call an ambulance. For yourself, at least. Probably too late for the dude on the floor. Did you really kill him? Tisk, tisk, tisk. What a mess. You look up. The door to the room is ajar. A tall, handsome, broad-shouldered man fills the entire frame. He brushes an imaginary speck of dirt off his perfectly tailored suit. Call 911 out of the way. Out of the way! Out of the way. I got a call for help. The call's been made. I'm the help. He surveys the room, not moving an inch from where he's standing. He shakes his head in mock concern. Murder, assault. That's 25 to life if you're lucky. But since you're not, it's a death sentence. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Lucky for you, it's been a slow night. Otherwise, I might not have gotten here in time. Come on, the sun comes up in a few hours. You don't want to be around here when it does. The sun? What's the matter when the sun comes up? Ah, so you don't even know. You should be glad I got here before you made yourself scarce. The man approaches you and starts talking. His tone remains unnaturally calm. Oddly enough, you find it both soothing and slightly unnerving. Now, listen to me. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you, and, going by experience, they tend to fall into 2 categories. First, there are the smart ones who carefully obey my every word, and don't try to pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones. The punks who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody secretly and without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, likely dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's one of my true weaknesses, one that inspired me to come up with a 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, I understand, sir. Now. You've never been too eager to bend to the knee to anyone, but this is something else. The man's very presence instills a primal fear in your heart. I understand, sir. Glad we have an understanding. Moving on. Is there anyone you want to inform of your current situation? Tell them you're alright. He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason, the sight sent a chills down your spine. There is something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? Lie out your ass? My ex-girlfriend. Jessica, my ex-girlfriend. She kinda hates my guts, but yeah, I suppose it would be her. The stranger gives you a puzzled look and decides to prod further. The closest person in your life hates your guts. This time, something resembling a look of pity. He turns his eyes to the corpse on the floor. When it rains, it pours, I suppose. Well, if you'd like to ruin her day and let her know you're alright, give me your phone number. I'll have someone take care of it. Discreetly, of course. You hand him your smartphone so he can copy the number from your list of contacts. Thank you. This will be useful in illustrating my next point. Instead of giving you back your phone, the man hides it in his pocket. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. He interrupts his monotone recitation and stares deep into your eyes. So unless you want your girlfriend to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I suggest you cooperate. He proudly displays his fangs again. You put Jess in danger. God damn it. I can only hope you care for her enough not to do anything selfish. His words are meant to imply otherwise, but by now it's obvious. He hates your guts as much as you hate his. He's itching for a fight, and you're almost willing to oblige. Alright, I think that's enough lecturing for today. We're on a bit of a schedule here. Now, I don't need to hurt you, but I can do so in the blink of an eye. Just so that we're clear, I have the authority to end you right here, right now. This is not an idle threat. So, are you going to play along, or do we have to do it the hard way? I'll follow on. You weigh your chances, but it doesn't look promising. The guy's fit, determined, and looks like he means business. You, on the other hand, are confused, exhausted, and on the verge of a panic attack. Yeah, fine. I'll go with you. He almost looks disappointed. A wise decision. Follow me, please, and close the door behind you. You take one final look at the woman who's just coming to. At the body on the ground. This is fucked. Absolutely fucked. You pull the handle and close the door. The man leads you downstairs. You contemplate signaling the bald guy at the front desk, but he's too busy watching some 90s action flick on a small, ancient-looking TV. He seems totally oblivious to your presence. You hear a dejected Jean-Claude Van Damme say, "I just want to go home," as you're walking by. Your would-be kidnapper stops by the door and addresses you before opening it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, as soon as he opens the door, I'm making a run for it. Maybe I can outrun him. I'll save you the trouble. You can't. You can either get inside my car, or I'll get you to where you need to be. Oh, you'll either get inside my car, and I'll get you to where you need to be, or you can try something stupid that you'll regret later. Do I make myself clear? Yeah, sure, clear as day. Day, huh? He opens the door and gestures to a black Cadillac Escalade parked right outside the building. After you. That's fine. Following the stranger's instructions, you make your way to the car and get in the passenger seat. The door locks behind you. Inside, the Cadillac is almost entirely dark. The side windows seem light-proof. The man inside the driver's seat starts the engine and drives away without another word. Did I die? This is the afterlife, isn't it? You're not entirely wrong, but it's not what you think. He weighs his next words carefully. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not in the mood to wax poetic about the state you're in or my role in tonight's events. Just remember, if you want to survive the next 24 hours, you'll have to play along. This is some shady bullshit. Man, this is bullshit. Why does everything have to be a fucking riddle? Well, riddle me this. Who's gonna get their teeth smashed into their brain if he doesn't shut up? Understand that this is for your own good. Times being what they are, you should consider yourself lucky. You drive in silence for about 20 more minutes. As exhaustion catches up with you, the streetlights fade into a blur. Eventually, the car stops and the doors open. You emerge from your dreamlike state and find yourself in some kind of underground parking garage. You two are the only ones here. The man points to a nearby door. Go on in, make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry, again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow and you'll get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. Guess I have to trust you? I guess I have no choice but to trust you? It took you this long to figure it out? Remember when I said you were lucky? I meant it. See, my job is to get rid of problems, but I'm not always this polite about it. This time, I was specifically told to mind my manners. So believe me when I tell you, considering how this night could have turned out, being stuck in here for a night is a really good deal. Now get in, or I'll throw you in. Or I'll throw you in. Walk inside. You step inside. The stranger nods. Good night. He closes the door behind you. It looks sturdy, but as he's locking it, you notice claw marks all over. It looks like some previous guests weren't satisfied with their stay. You decide not to dwell on it and check the fridge. There's a single plastic bag there, filled with red liquid. No label. Tomato soup? You feel sick to your stomach. Best to leave it for now. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. You can't help but think it looks exactly like the one back at the hotel, with the bound woman. Oh, right. You killed a man tonight. Or did you? Maybe none of this is real. Maybe it's all an elaborate prank. Girl at the club. Just might have put her up to it. The tall guy's clearly in on it too. Now he's back with them, and they're all laughing their asses off. You don't know what to think anymore. Your mind races, but you're too tired to keep it going. Finally, you tense up one last time before drifting away into oblivion. You wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels like. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on, and the AC is still rattling. The refrigerator is still humming. You take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 p.m. You slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone, and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you are certain about one thing. You're hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling, though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You open the fridge. The bag is still there. You take a closer look at it. If it's soup, then it's cold and the textures are off. You pull the cork out and take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. It's bagged blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it nauseating, but now it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. Drink the blood. It feels wrong, but right now there's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes bland. Reminds you of cheap supermarket juice. Just enough flavor to register as it claims to be on the box, but nothing like the real thing. Nothing like what you had the last time. You swallow it. Somehow you don't feel sick. In a weird, messed up way, you can't help but think it feels nourishing. You take a few more sips, and then just another one. Suck on the bag a little more. Eventually you find that you've emptied it entirely. All, you can look into the info pressed into the side of the bag, 450 milliliters of it. Even with its blandness, you feel like having more. You realize your body longs for that intoxicating high you felt when an image of that corpse crosses your mind, causes you to wince. What have you become? You try to piece your thoughts together, make sense of it all, when you hear the lock click and see the door open. Standing there is a well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again, that predatory look, like a hawk on a hunt, but somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tamed hawk, maybe. Good evening. Slept well? He notices the discarded empty bag. I see you had a bit of a snack. I did. Got any more? No, I don't expect sustenance to be this easy to find the next time. Come on, we've got places to be. The car is humming in the empty parking lot just outside the door of the cramped room you have spent the day in. The man motions to it, politely, but with a stern look on his face. Get inside. I'm trusting you here, man. I'm touched, sincerely. You take the back seat again. The door is locked. The stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep catching a glimpse of familiar streets or landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproof, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic coming and the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked all right. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy, too. There's nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're hungry? No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You try to extract some information out of the man behind the wheel, but you realize you prefer to bask in the afterglow of your last meal. You wouldn't have expected it, but you spent the rest of the trip lost in your thoughts. A lot of them concern blood. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York, that much is certain. Queens, maybe. After me. No sudden movements, please. You approach a nice-looking building that houses a 2-story gallery called the Art Hole. 2 large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering, serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite, unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you, as if wishing to appraise your worth. The last time you felt like this was at your previous job interview. It was like being a piece of livestock, inspected from all sides for any imperfection so your wage could be haggled down. It was dehumanizing and made you feel dirty. When they called you the next day to offer you the job, you declined. Even when you're a nobody, you become even less if you trade away your dignity for a paycheck. If memory makes you feel warmer inside even now, or the memory makes you feel even warmer inside even now, although the state of your bank account never did. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery. A crowd of strangers. You being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Good evening, miss. You are addressing the Prince of New York City, Helen Panhard, child of Michaela. Thank you, my sheriff, but I am capable of introducing myself. She is somewhat plain-looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people, that much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife is abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathering audience. But I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. Remain silent. You decide it's best to stay silent and listen to the whole situation unfold. Feels like you're out of your depth here. Shall we begin? You are about to be judged by the court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this legending and what happened on your way here. Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society, make-believe? A trusted informant who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this legend remained in their place. The hunger made him savage a prostitute and his client in a Bronx brothel belonging to one of the ministry. I have already spoken to Sensric about this, and he made sure it'll blow over. Regarding the fledgling himself, surprisingly enough, he offered little resistance last night and cooperated on our way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force his compliance. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged him to join me, which he did without struggle. Again, a pleasant departure from my usual routine. His thirst partially slanked with the bagged blood we kept in the safe house. We had a pleasant enough drive here. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. Take note of this fledgling's behavior, and we'll take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there is the matter of your sire, the person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? A Latina woman, very radical, unless she convincingly lied to me. She was special, extraordinary. She had fire, conviction, temper. She seduced me, easily in fact, made me think she wanted me. I fell for it, and now I'm here. It feels awkward talking to a room full of strangers about what seemed like a random one-night stand at the time. Not to mention that even though the Latina made an impression on you for sure, her face is already fading from your mind. You realize she never even told you her name. Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not, or at least not familiar enough. I will continue to search after we're done here. That chick. She rented our room at the motel. Talked to the receptionist. He might know something about her. Unlikely, but regardless, thank you for that observation. I will investigate this later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy prodigy shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir what all this talk is of traditions and council was when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie? Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir. We all know what the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands tonight, after all. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you are left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite the pickle. What do you mean? I still don't understand what my crime is here. Poor thing. This really isn't your fault, but if you want to get out of here in one piece, you need to understand one crucial fact that seems to have eluded your grasp. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait, what? Oh yes, I'm well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires? You're looking at them. They're us. Glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. That's not the right thickness, and it's not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing has not returned. Your heart remains still. Vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you will be cut down, as sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out, under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and your deference to Kadir will work in your favor. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I'm not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I'll make sure you face the consequences. Suppose I say yes. What happens then? You survive, hopefully. Or not, depending on the prince's whim. I'm giving you a chance, not a guarantee. But if you take me as your patron, I will be your guide in this new reality, and you will assist me, like a child with a sire. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well, and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating, first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage again. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla gathered here tonight, I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. She briefly addresses you. I want you to know that this was not an easy decision to make. For your part, you have not done anything to earn our ire. I do feel a genuine sorrow for what must be done. We are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever. There is no place for tolerating dissent when our very existence is under constant threat, although I acknowledge some of my council's divergent opinions on this. She takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a rather plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin is somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate. I declare that while their embrace might be the sire's responsibility, in their absence it is their progeny that must be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir? You hear a scraping sound and see that the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is a beautifully detailed blade which you expect must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. His quiet mumble is audible to no one but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. And he's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. Ask for mercy. You make your choice. I'm not going down like this, damn it. Spare me. Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer. Kadir looks at the prince, waiting for her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The board elites suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of our laws. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance they could become an asset to our domain. Am I to understand that you are volunteering to take this sireless child under your protection? Yes, I happen to think they might hold potential that would be unfortunate to waste. I do expect their full cooperation, of course. Whispers can be heard again, an incredulous voice or two. A hushed, just behead the fucker. Some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. It might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favor, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Until thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's the responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling, and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need, yes, but I'd like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. Remain silent. Its clear tensions are high. It feels surreal to listen to strangers discussing your death, or a second death apparently, and keeping silent. You decide it's best to let Sophie handle this alone and not interject. You have no idea how to handle this eyes wide shut crowd. The prince looks at you as if weighing your worth. She takes another good measure of the room before she speaks again. I shall grant what you ask. Let it be known, Sophie Langley of the clan of the Rose will become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction. if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla, substantially so. I hope you find this final verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Eric, Prince. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Eric. Now, this evening proved to be even more eventful than I anticipated, but with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can conclude. Thank you for all appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties. Of course, Prince. He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And if you need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Eric, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. Well, let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to a new, fruitful partnership. She raises her hand at one of the well-dressed concierges who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guest glasses. The conventionally handsome man approaches with a carafe of red liquid. He pours it into 2 tall glasses. It's blood again, that much is clear. You're in 2 minds about drinking it, but the memory of last night's hunger makes you wince. You take a tentative sip. You expected the same blandness you tasted a few hours ago, but this one you can actually savor. It's smoky and warm, making you think of a cozy cabin in the woods. It does strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when drinking human blood, but it is what it is. You've never tasted anything like it. You like it? I think New York City caterers have very bourgeois ideas about what good blood tastes like. Apologies, we must have so many questions. While we're on the topic, perhaps we should start with those related to sustenance. I feel this hunger constantly. How much do I have to drink to make it go away? The sad reality is, it will never go away. No matter how much you drink, you will always be tempted to have more. Unless you consume someone wholly to the last drop, paying for temporary relief with their life. But that is a one-way road to losing your humanity. Let's start by just taking a single sip from a vessel. Be prudent. Hot, fresh blood will be more satisfying than most anything they serve in a fancy glass, but it can make you more voracious. As to how much you should have, it depends. If you're frugal, you can survive many nights without a single drink, but it's risky and will tempt the beast that is part of our curse. Tomorrow I shall take you hunting, and we will explore this topic further. The blood you're having tonight should be enough to keep you happy for now. Yeah, that beast you mentioned, is that a metaphor, or... No, it's quite real, although not in a strictly physical sense. It lives in all of us, our nature and hunger manifest. Those more religious among us connect it to the biblical Cain, the rage of the first murderer, cursed by God, seething in all his descendants. I, however, am a child of the Enlightenment. Not that it makes my struggle any easier. I have to be wary like every other kindred in this city and beyond. Individual kindred each have a unique relationship to their beast. What yours is going to be remains to be seen. But you need not keep it under control. Each outburst endangers not just you, but also the Masquerade. The concierge asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile, and leans into a whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. I'm being told the gallery is just about to close, but we still have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on makes you remember the way you felt with the Latina. It's not arousing, though, more like magnetic. You find it hard to argue. Even though you're still suspicious of her authority over you, her charm momentarily wins you over. Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls-Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven, middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately. Where did we leave off? I believe I started telling you a bit more about our customs. You heard the prince refer to our traditions. Chief among them is the Masquerade. Okay, why don't we stop it there? This is audap. You've been watching Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York on Nintendo Switch. Well, it's all talk. It's all me talking. There's not a single voice actor in this whole thing, apparently. That's a little disappointing. But this is basically world building for the RPG, but not the computer RPG. Not that Vampire the Masquerade, but just the regular pen and paper Vampire the Masquerade. So if you're interested in that universe, then this gives you like a separate tale and world building for that. It just sort of encourages you to play the board game. I don't know. It's interesting. It's full of all the same kinds of normal vampire, vampire genre conventions. But it does feature 3 different stories, so it seems like there's a fair amount of content. I do wish there was some voice acting, but it is what it is. So we'll play through this one as much as we can, and hopefully it'll be a journey worth taking. I don't know for sure. It seems like it's okay so far. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.